Hello everybody, my name is Brady and we are back with another React video, and today we're going to be checking out more Hamilton. We have three more videos I'm going to be doing, and then we'll have pretty much the main story finished. That doesn't mean I'm not going to go back to some of the Hamilton stuff, like the extra stuff that maybe I missed at some point in the future, but for now, we're very close to wrapping up the main musical, at least the main parts that I felt like talking about. Today we're going to be doing two songs. We have Your Obedient Servant, and I thought I would tack on like the really short, less than a minute Best of Wives song onto this one. I thought that would probably be good instead of having it be its own video or attached to the next one. I think I just want to take on the duel in a bit of a bubble. I think that would be a little better. Also, I learned this since one of my previous videos where I talked about the Philip Hamilton situation, and I wasn't aware of this, but Philip Hamilton actually died a year after the election of 1800. I thought it happened before, but I guess it was like a full year after the election. I kind of get that narrative-wise, but I feel like I need to point that out. Because like it doesn't make sense to have Hamilton be like this dejected guy who has to be pulled back into politics if his son hasn't been killed yet. So I kind of get it from a storytelling perspective, but I feel obligated to point this out since I didn't know it. There's a good chance a lot of you may not have taken the time to look that up, because I know I didn't. Yeah, Philip Hamilton died after the fact, like pretty much a full year after the fact. So that's interesting. Just take that into account, and if I said anything that sounded funky in the Philip Hamilton video, add that as like a correction. That's the best I can do in this video. So we'll see if I return to talking about that subject again one day. Who knows? So here we're going to start with Your Obedient Servant. So I guess we're going to be talking about the process of getting to a duel. We have had that expressed a little bit, and I think it's done pretty well, pretty concisely early on in the musical. Once we start getting introduced to dueling and stuff, the letters go back and forth, and if you can't get anything out of the letters, it's on, and then it goes to the seconds. But here we're going to be talking about the process of writing the letters, which I think will be really interesting. I don't remember how this one goes, so this should be fun. Let's get started.
How does Hamilton, an arrogant immigrant, orphan, bastard, whore's son, somehow endorse Thomas Jefferson, his enemy, a man he's despised since the beginning, just to keep me from winning?
Solid recap here. So the duel happens years after the election, actually. One of the interesting things about it, the duel is not triggered by anything that we know specifically. We have a vague idea as to what we know. It's not the election, though there's some bad blood at this point. After the election, I feel like sometime before the election, when it came to like the Burr's water company, which we talked about in a previous video, their relationship was never right. Hamilton's opinion of Burr could not have gotten any lower. At one point, they could have been considered friends, but at this point, they are, it's harsh. And it's weird because they work together on like legal cases and stuff after this, but, well, after the election, not after the duel. Not much happens with Hamilton after the duel, unfortunately. But yeah, their relationship's pretty much destroyed at this point. What caused the duel? Maybe they'll reference it later on. I'm not sure, but I'll talk about it in this video.
I wanna be in the room.
I want to see if it comes up in the lyrics.
The room where it happens, the room where it happens. You've kept me from the room where it happens for the last time.
It's pretty funky. I like the scratches.
Dear Alexander, I am slow to anger, but I toe the line as I reckon with the effects of your life on mine.
The writing is very gentle, and I guess that would be really normal when it comes to a duel. Maybe if we start getting a little bit later into American history, I think when you see a lot of the duels leading up to the Civil War, they feel a lot less civilized. They're not pretending that they're not about to go out. Well, some of them do, but a lot of them aren't pretending as hard that they're not about to like walk out onto a field and shoot each other. Which I would consider those to be at least a little bit more honest with what they're doing. It's a barbaric practice, but a lot of the writing leading up to this is so formal, it's so gentle, and that is very normal for a lot of the writing going into this. Because the whole thing about dueling, it's to have this moral high ground. It's to secure your dignity, your honor. So you're going into it trying to come from the moral high ground. So that would make sense why, at least to them, in their crazy, weird, messed up world where they're about to shoot each other in the face, not in the face, bad dueling strategy, in that crazy world, this makes sense to write this way.
Look back on where I failed, and in every place I checked, the only common thread has been your disrespect. Now you call me immoral, a dangerous disgrace. If you've got something to say, name a time and place, face to face.
Okay, so what actually triggered the duel is something that Hamilton allegedly said. And there seems to be an understanding between Burr and Hamilton as to what Hamilton said. They seem to be thinking of a very specific statement that Hamilton said to some people. It got around to Burr, and Burr wants him to own up to it and take it back. We don't actually know what that statement was. The exact cause for the duel, whatever Hamilton did, how low it may have been, whether it was a valid criticism of Burr or if it was just this like bitter, hateful criticism of Burr, that's a little bit difficult to say. At this point, Hamilton, like I said, his opinion could not be much lower of Burr. He believed his lack of morality made him just completely unfit to be in positions of power. People like Burr in Hamilton's mind were corruptible since he only has his own ambition. What if he were to receive a bribe that could perhaps put Burr further up in the world at the expense of his country? In Hamilton's mind, Burr is such a low moral character that he's just dangerous to be in positions where he could be manipulated like that. So that's certainly something that Hamilton has on his mind, whether it's legitimate or not. I guess we could talk about Burr's life after killing Hamilton, because he definitely had imperial ambitions. I guess that's something to talk about when it comes to the last song, because that's completely glossed over in the musical. So we'll save that more for the last song.
I have the honor to be your obedient face to face. I have the honor to be your obedient servant. A. Burr.
Mr. Vice.
And when I talk about the gentle communication, I believe that's actually how he signed the letter. So this stuff is not all like taken directly from the letters. So, some things in this musical borrow heavily from the primary sources. Some just kind of use them as a guide. This song has mostly been using them as a guide, but that part is very real, which is very interesting. But that's just something built into the culture around the writing, around dueling and writing in general. It's all gentle. It's all very conscious of your self-image. So, yeah, the way he is approaching it is not unusual.
President. I am not the reason no one
Mr.
trusts
Vice
you.
President.
No one knows
Hear that?
what you believe. I will not equivocate on my opinion. I have always worn it on my sleeve. Even if I said what you think I said, you would need to cite a more specific grievance. Here's an itemized list of 30 years of disagreements.
Sweet Jesus.
Hey,
You see what Hamilton's doing here? There's something a little bit different about his approach than what we have come to be used to seeing the musical. And what this represents for the real Hamilton, we can talk about a little bit here. He's kind of being a little weaselly here, you know? He's like, if I said what you think I said... He's not saying he didn't say that, and he's gonna own up to it. But, like, yeah, he's dancing around it here. And that's... First of all, that is kind of a tell that he almost certainly said... even before he owns up to it, he almost certainly said what Burr thinks he said. But yeah, that weaselly language towards the end, it's kind of a switch of roles. We have this much more aggressive Aaron Burr coming in towards the end. And yeah, in real life, clearly the more aggressive by the end because of how he chose to fire upon Hamilton when Hamilton... probably chose not to. There's a few different ways the duel could have played out. We only have like a couple kind of witnesses, so we'll talk about that when we talk about the actual duel. But yeah, the reverse of character traits is really interesting.
I have not been shy.
Real life and the music.
Guy in the public eye, trying to do my best for our republic. I don't want to fight, but I won't apologize for doing what's right. I have the honor to be your obedient servant, A. Ham.
I've read a good amount of Alexander Hamilton letters. I don't know if he ever signed it A. Ham. I don't know if that's if it has been done. I haven't seen that. That might just be flipped to fit like the flow. You know what I'm saying? Like you got A. Hamilton doesn't sound really good. Okay, but fair. I understand.
Allow you proceed, good man. Intemperate indeed, good man. Answer for the accusations I lay at your feet, or prepare to bleed, good man.
So yeah, this occurred in a series of letters. So Burr is unsatisfied with Hamilton's response. He doesn't feel the sincerity that he wants. He's being unsatisfied. You got to find your satisfaction. And where do you do that? On the dueling ground, apparently. Doesn't make too much sense to me, but it made sense to them.
Your grievance is legitimate. I stand by what I said, every bit of it. You stand only for
Ooh,
yourself.
that's ominous.
It's what you do. I can't apologize because it's true.
Stand, Alexander. We hawking dawn. Guns drawn.
You're on. I have the honor to be your obedient servant, A. Ham.
A. Burr.
That was pretty cool. I really enjoy how this contrasts with what they're actually doing. I think that is a really good representation of dueling. Dueling is supposed to be this sophisticated thing that gentlemen do in some circles in order to secure their honor, to demonstrate their bravery. But we kind of see from an outside perspective that it's not this sophisticated act. You're just stepping into a field and shooting guns at each other. There's nothing sophisticated about the fact that you couldn't sort out your problems with words, so you decided to use violence on one another. There's something extremely childish and unsophisticated about that. So yeah, I really like how this contrasts with the reality. And it really represents what they tried to put forward and how they acted and wrote with posterity in mind. And they really wanted the moral high ground in these situations. It was all about like proving something to one another, but also proving something to like the wider world in the process. It's incredibly weird, but fascinating. All right, so we are going to go to the next song. Hold on one second while I pull it up. Okay, so here we have kind of one of those mini tracks, kind of like a skit, I think. I think that's what it would be considered. Best of Wives and Best of Women. So this is right before the song where they duel. All right.
Alexander, come back to sleep.
I have an early meeting out of town.
It's still dark outside.
I know. I just need to write something down.
Why do you write like you're running out of time?
So the thing that destroyed Burr politically in a lot of ways is what Hamilton is working on here. So Hamilton is writing his account of what is going to happen before it happens. He's writing down his intentions for posterity, so people after the fact can see what he intended to do or what he wants them to think he intends to do. In this, he says that he intends to delope. As far as this musical is concerned, throw away his shot, as they say. He even says that he intends on perhaps throwing away his second shot, because if both men fire and nobody gets hit, you get another shot. If they aren't able to come to a peace there. Sometimes both shots are fired and everybody's like, okay, we have to, stop this somehow, and somebody will apologize, the other guy will get satisfaction, they'll walk away. But in this case, Hamilton's saying, yeah, I'm going to throw away my shot and possibly even my second shot. So after Burr has possibly already shot at me, I plan on maybe throwing away another shot. So these letters left clearly for people to read after the fact are not something that should just be taken at face value, because Hamilton really can't lose when it comes to the letters. He can totally lose the duel, and he will, and he'll die. But he can't really lose when it comes to the letters, because he gets to write his narrative, and if he loses, his narrative gets heard after the fact. If he changes his mind and he decides he wants to shoot at Burr, he can get rid of the letters. The letters don't matter unless he dies. So this is just kind of like an insurance policy, just to make sure that when everything's over, he's able to get another U to Burr, or elevate his own legacy, make himself into kind of a martyr. It's very smart to do stuff like this. If he really cares about how people perceive him in the future, yeah, get your message out there. So, yeah.
Come back to bed, that would be enough.
I'll be back before you know I'm gone.
Come back to sleep.
This meeting's at dawn.
Well, I'm going back to sleep.
Hey, best of wives and best of women.
I don't know exactly what Best of Wives, Best of Women is a reference to. It feels like it's a reference. I'm going to look it up. All right, so according to Genius, which I probably should have consulted more during this series, but I didn't. What a shame. It's a little bit late to be doing so, but we're doing it. In Hamilton's last letter to his wife, he signed off with Best of Wives and Best of Women. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, that's a nice little transition. Like, you could have cut that song out, but I kind of like that it's in there. I don't believe there's much inclusion of how Hamilton very deliberately set the narrative of the duel through his letters. I outside of this, I don't know if there's any reference to that in the musical, but it's very important. And Hamilton really was able to do so much for his own legacy in this act and really change the way Burr would have been perceived. Now, if Burr shoots him and these letters are there with Hamilton being like, oh, I'm such a good Christian and I'm not going to hurt him. I'm going to throw away my shot. I'll throw away my second shot. I'll turn the other cheek. And then if he wants to shoot my other cheek, he can do that. Oh, God. That would have been a grim image. But yeah, Hamilton did a very good job. And yeah, he did. He did a great job. Not in the duel, but he knew how to control a narrative. So he had that going for him. So that's it. We're done. We're done for today. Oh, God. As it gets more grim, I feel like my joking around feels very inappropriate. But, like, it's hard not to laugh. It's like a Darwin Award type thing, you know? When people die doing stupid stuff and they have the Darwin Award thing, that's kind of what every dueling death feels like. So to a certain degree, I can't help but laugh a little bit. Oh, well. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you pretty soon, and we'll be wrapping up Hamilton over the next week or so. I'm going back to school, so I'm not going to have a ton of time to record going forward, but I'm going to try to keep stuff going, but I want to make sure I have the Hamilton stuff wrapped up before I do go back to school, because I'm going to have so much on my hands, and I'm trying to be a better student. So thank you guys, and I will see you in the very near future, and we'll be wrapping this up. Okay, Bird's getting in trouble. I'll see you. Bye. I'm going to go fix that.